it freaked me out.
Hey, little person needing to poop.
I'm so scared just thinking about it. I got issues. Hey everyone, it's Channon Rose, and I'm here with a very special guest, Brett Larkin. If you guys don't know who she is, you should. I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit about her channel. You wanna tell them a little bit?
Hey guys, yeah, I have a yoga channel here on YouTube, so I teach every kind of yoga you can think of, including prenatal yoga and meditation and guided relaxations. So I'm super excited to be with Channon, especially because I had my first baby just a couple months ago. So I can remember exactly what it's like to be sitting where she is right now. And I really wanted to have a natural birth. I know that's not important to everyone, but it really was to me. And I just want to be here for you today, like answer questions, and I'm so excited for you.
I'm really excited too. So we decided that we were going to make a video where she's gonna like totally help me out. Like tell me a little bit about things that I have no idea about. And by the way, can I just say, you guys, she had an unassisted home birth.
Which was not the plan, at all.
Right.
Yes, meaning that it was just me and my husband. The midwife couldn't get there in time. So yeah, and I had a lot of fear about natural birth and having a home birth.
Did you?
So much fear,
yeah.
Yes. And I think if you don't have fear about the birthing process, that would be weird. I mean, I'm already thinking, oh, if I have another, and I'm like, oh, I'd be so scared all over again. So I just want like you to know, and for people who are watching to know, like I think sometimes we think, oh, it's weird or bad if we have fear.
Right.
It's so normal. It's just part of it.
Right. And it feels so good to hear you say that, because I feel like she's someone that you would think is the type of person to have a natural birth, and to know that someone like you also has that natural fear makes me feel not so bad.
Yeah, and I would have it again. I think like the biggest thing I want to share with you and the people watching is that you're not doing prenatal yoga, but we're going to teach you some later today.
Right. We're going to talk about yoga and my experience with yoga.
Right, okay. So I think yoga and meditation and just guided relaxations, like I mentioned, are one of the best ways you can prepare.
Okay.
And my other big advice would be like, don't get attached to any particular plan, because birth is so unexpected. So you kind of just have to be ready to like roll with the punches. And I think I actually did a good job with that, because I really wanted the home birth, but I set up everything at the hospital as well. Okay. So I was like, I'm just gonna see how I feel in the moment and be prepped for like whatever scenario. And that gave me a lot of peace of mind.
Oh yeah. Totally. That's really smart that you did that. Like prepare for anything.
Prepare for anything, because birth is so weird. Like everyone told me that it was my first baby, so it was gonna be late.
Right.
And that I was gonna have the really long labor.
Right.
And my baby came 10 days early and was born in like 3 hours.
That's crazy.
So birth is just so unique to each individual woman.
Right.
And that's why I think listening to birth stories, like you told me you're starting to read some birth stories, is great. And I think the biggest thing I want to share with you from the yoga perspective, because even if you don't keep doing prenatal yoga, although we're going to do it together.
I know.
And I think you're going to like it. But
I might cry on you.
That's okay. I think the biggest thing I want to share is that yoga teaches us that your intuition is more powerful right now than it's ever been before. And I was telling you this on the phone, like, so when you're feeling that fear, it's fear of uncertainty. Like fear is literally just panicking about the future, that's anxiety, or worrying about the past, right? And that's like usually like depression. But with birth, it's like we're worried about the future because we have no control of the outcome. And the best thing to do, I think, is to go inward and connect with your baby. Connect with your baby, because I think what people forget is that your baby is an active participant in your birth. People think like, oh, you're the mom, you're just doing everything alone. It's like a tango between you and baby. And what I learned when I did my prenatal training is like your baby actually has to spiral down your pelvis to come out. So it enters the pelvic inlet with its head in one position. It has to actually do like a swirl, and enters ideally with occiput posterior through the outlet in a different position. So moving during labor, like, we're gonna do some of these moves later, but like making sure your baby's in, making sure your baby's in the best possible position. Because I think a lot of reasons women have long labors is just because their baby's not in the right position to do that like swirl.
Okay.
So I became very obsessed with like posture during the
I'm
third.
so bad at that.
I know, we're gonna go over it later, don't worry. So the third trimester is like keeping the baby in that optimal position. And then just remember that like your baby has this innate wisdom, just like you have this innate wisdom to come out, to do that spiral. So I think we get like all heady because it's like information age and, you know, but like your body knows how to do this and your baby knows how to do this. Like your baby was programmed to do it. So every time I'd have anxiety, I'd try to connect with my baby and be like, hey, little person, like, what's going on? Like, do you feel like having a home or hospital birth? Like, how are you feeling today? And there's a meditation I have on YouTube, and we can do something similar that's like, free your fear of labor, connect with baby. But I feel like if you two think of yourself as a team, for me, that helped take away a lot of the fear, because I just really trusted, like, if something was wrong with my baby, I would know. If I keep practicing that intuition
like
piece of it. Bond. Yeah. I feel like I'm talking a lot. What questions do you have?
No. This is so good. Everyone wants to have that friend that like can help you with these things. And she is that friend. And I'm sharing her with you today. And so I feel like you're going to give us so much guidance and just information and just make us feel so good. But I also want to talk about my experience with yoga, because
let's go into that.
I think that is important.
So what happened?
Okay. So basically, I decided I was going to take a yoga class, and I, didn't really have many expectations. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest. And all of a sudden in the class, I started crying. Like, it made me cry, and it freaked me out. Like, legit.
What kind of yoga was it?
It was like a candlelight yoga. Okay,
but like just vinyasa, like flowing, stretching, or was it?
Yeah, it was like a really mellow one. I might have even been like a beginner's class. And then I did it with my mom and my sister, so I had people there with me that like I was comfortable with. But yeah, it was just like, I don't know, it was so weird. And I just started crying, and I got really embarrassed actually, because I was like, why is this happening? It kind of scared me a little bit. And I didn't like feeling my feelings. And so I was like, I'm out of here. And I like literally like left out the back. And then I was really scared to do like yoga again. So I decided, because everyone tells me, and I have really bad anxiety, that you should do yoga. It's like good for you. It helps with your anxiety. And so I was like, okay. So I decided to do it from home, like watching a class on YouTube. It might have been yours. Who knows? I don't know. And I started crying like again when I did it. I got issues.
We all do. Myself included. And like the yoga practice is gonna bring that up.
Okay.
We spend so much time in our day-to-day like busy and sort of stuffing stuff down, because we've been taught that's like what to do.
Right.
And it's not like, your experience is not uncommon. Like, you're not alone. I've had emotional moments in yoga too, because all of a sudden you're slowing down. It's like you're slowing down your breath. And all of a sudden it's like you're feeling whatever it is you've been avoiding feeling by staying busy and in your head. So yoga really gets us out of our head and into our hearts and bodies. And especially if we've had trauma, past physical issues, like that's all there. That's all gonna come up, and it's part of the healing process.
Okay.
And I've had yoga classes that have made me angry, that have made me cry, that have made me like hate the teacher. Like, so many emotions come up.
Yeah.
And it's cathartic. Like, you just have to go with it, especially because, whatever is stored in your body right now in terms of like trauma that could be released through yoga, you want to clear that.
You want to get it out
before birth. Before a baby comes.
Yeah, no, totally.
I know that's like not the best news, but it's like, I think we can do in our session today just some stuff that's going to be gentle, and if emotions come up, just like celebrate those emotions.
Yeah, let them out, get them out of there. Get those dirty, yucky emotions out. Yeah, okay. So, well, that's good to know that like that's a thing.
Totally.
It's like, but it's actually a good thing that's happening, because you want that to happen to get out, and then it's gonna make you feel better afterwards.
Yeah, just think of it as like this bottled up energy that if you don't let it out, it's kind of controlling your life in the form of, you might lose your temper really easily.
Yeah.
You might worry about stuff all the time. You might have trouble falling asleep. I always think of, like birds when they are on a lake and they like kind of fuss with other birds, and then they just like flick it off, and then they fly away. They're just like letting all that anger energy like out right away. Like, animals know how to release emotions from their body.
Yeah, better than humans.
Really quickly. They just like shake it off. You know? But as humans, we're taught to like bury our emotions, be strong, be brave, be stoic, and it ends up where we just bottle all this stuff down. And it has to come to surface at some point through a big life event like birth, or by exploring yoga and like your spiritual path, or, you know, whatever. That stuff's gonna come out and it's okay.
Okay, well that's good to know. So I think with being pregnant and the yoga stuff, it's good to kind of put it together, because if you're thinking about having a natural birth, you want to be able to somehow cope and help with that anxiety. And I think that what you're saying is like a yoga and meditation and all these things that you teach are a really great way to help you prepare for birth.
Yeah, yoga is gonna help you in 3 main ways. It's gonna get you more in touch with your breath, and breath is gonna be really important for like breathing through all those contractions.
Right.
So that's amazing. It's gonna give you awareness to how you deal with uncomfortable situations.
Okay.
So if you were in that yoga class and the way you dealt with, you know, maybe feeling uncomfortable in the yoga class was to cry, that's actually like really great intel. You're like, okay, so when I feel challenged or when I feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
my tendency is that I'm gonna cry. Like for me, it's like I get angry.
Okay.
So it's like giving you this heightened awareness
Okay.
that's really helpful, because then you're like, okay, I kind of know my default patterning of like how I react to either stress or discomfort. So in some of the yoga prenatal I teach, I even deliberately, like, we do some stuff that's uncomfortable.
Right.
But it's just like practice for testing, like, it's like a test contraction, right? By doing something uncomfortable physically in our bodies, we can kind of see like, okay, how does my body react when suddenly put under stress or suddenly being forced to do something that I don't want to do?
Right.
How, like, what emotions are going to come up? Because then you get really familiar with like your habitual patterning.
Okay.
So that awareness is huge. And then the third thing yoga helps with is just getting more in your body. Because like you can't think your way through birth. It's like primal.
Right.
Right? We got to be like channel the animal.
Right.
So it's gonna get you more like out of your
I'm so scared just thinking about it. I'm so glad you're here.
No, we're gonna do some like really simple moves later that are gonna get you out of your head into your body, because your body innately knows how to do birth. Your head doesn't know how to do birth.
Okay.
So that's why I think prenatal yoga is really great.
Yeah, I think so too. And just so you guys know, first of all, her link is gonna be to her channel, will be in the description bar, but we're also doing videos on her channel. She's gonna actually show you on me how to do these things.
Yeah, we're gonna do a super simple routine and a get in your body routine, like the animal, and then we're gonna do a relaxation, like anti-anxiety one as well.
Okay, yeah.
To be really healing, restorative.
That will be really nice and helpful. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some like pregnancy questions, since you've been through this and I haven't. What does a contraction feel like?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So I think every woman's gonna answer this question differently, but I've heard this from a lot of women and it's my answer too. It just feels like period cramps.
Does it?
Really intense period cramps. That's how I kind of figured out I was in labor, because I'd have like little cramps throughout pregnancy, like up around the sides.
Yeah.
But then the day before I went into labor, I started feeling like cramps down there, like as if I were getting a period. And it's kind of weird to talk about it this way, but I just feel like it's like the biggest period of your life, right? Because you like didn't have a period for 9 months,
right? And
it's like a big exit. And the other thing I'd say it feels like is needing to poop.
Okay.
And I think that freaks a lot of women out, and I think people don't talk about that. But laboring on the toilet for me, my baby was almost born in the toilet because I refused to get off the toilet, because to me,
you felt like you had to go to the bathroom.
I felt like I was gonna poop.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's so normal. And if you feel like you have to poop, it's like a good sign, because it means that the baby's head is like really pressing down and you're probably gonna give birth semi soon, as opposed to like in 8 hours.
Did you give birth in a tub, or like were you just like on the toilet?
I was like in denial that I was
in labor,
which is actually a really good strategy.
Okay.
And I know you said you got a doula, which is awesome. So I want to talk about that. But I like felt some little crampies, but I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna have a baby in 10 days. Right? Like,
because you weren't due.
Because I wasn't due. And everyone tells you your first baby is gonna be late. And this is why you just need to like shut out the noise, shut out what everyone tells you, plan for every possible scenario, and then just like get zen, connect with your baby. Because otherwise you'll just drive yourself nuts. So I apparently went through early labor while I was sleeping. So all night I had to get up and go to the bathroom, probably like you do right now.
Right, yeah.
So that didn't feel that unusual, but I did feel like I had to poop.
Right.
But I was like, oh, I probably just ate something weird and I just have to poop in the middle of the night.
Right.
So all night I was like getting up, going back and forth to the bathroom.
Oh, thinking you might have to poop.
Yes.
Not pee.
Yeah, I mean, I'd pee every time I was up.
Okay,
because like, you know, baby pressing on bladder. You know, that went on all night, but I was sleeping like 2 hours in between. And that's great, because if you can get rest in early labor, that's awesome.
So were you feeling these cramps also during this time, or did you not really feel them?
No, it's just like mild.
Okay.
Mild. And I was sleepy and drowsy and like, I'm not giving birth for another 10 days.
Right.
Like, what is this? I must have eaten something weird or whatever.
Okay.
And then eventually I couldn't sleep anymore because I just felt uncomfortable.
Okay.
So I got in my bathtub at home.
Oh, okay.
And then I just did like, it's like when you go to a workout class and they make little stations for you. I just did 3 stations. So station 1 was in the bathtub, like with hot water.
Okay.
Station 2 was sitting on my toilet.
Okay.
And station 3 was just like on the bathroom floor, kind of like moving around.
Yeah,
and
take notes, guys. Write these stations down.
And like the moving around, that's the thing that's gonna get your baby in the right position.
Right.
And that's why, you know, it scares me when people go to the hospital too early and then they get strapped to a hospital bed, or they don't, sorry, you don't get strapped to a hospital bed, but you get strapped to a monitor.
Right, yeah.
And you're lying on your back, which is the worst possible position to help your baby come down. You know, I know you're probably not gonna do, you're not doing the epidural.
Right.
So the best way you can relieve pain is just to like move. And for me, that worked really well. So I was just like trying to poop, but actually pushing my baby out. I just didn't even know. Moving on the bathroom floor, using some yoga props that I brought to show you today, like yoga blocks, just like squatting, and then getting in the bathtub. And I was just going between the 3.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And we didn't call the midwife because I wanted to be that person. Because you always hear, have you heard about this? Like the woman who like thinks she's in labor, but it's way too early, and she goes to the hospital too early. And
yeah, and it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It's, yeah.
So my goal was like, I don't want to be that person. And because I practice a lot of yoga and I practice a lot of the techniques that I'm going to show you later in the class, like kind of techniques that kind of make you feel like you're in pain, but then you think through it. Because I'd been doing so much prep, my pain tolerance was actually quite high.
Okay.
So I should have called my midwife sooner, because she then didn't get there in time. So
I would have freaked out.
Don't do what I did. But yeah, and eventually it just escalated, and I was trying to time the contractions, but I was just too out of it, and none of the things that the apps were telling me. I actually like threw the app across the bathroom. I was just like, this app doesn't make sense. It was like showing me advertisements. It was like, buy, and I was like, this app is brilliant. They're like advertising to pregnant women in labor. You're just like, buy app to make the ads go away. But so I ended up not even using the app, and my baby just came very fast. I think because he was in the right position.
Okay.
I did some of these like positioning exercises that I'm gonna show you, and he was just ready to go.
Okay.
And then I was doing movement, so he was able to do his spiral. And then I would have given birth on the toilet, because I was like on the toilet and I screamed at my husband. I was like, something's coming out of me, something's coming out of me. And we called
I wish you would have filmed all of this.
I went priceless, right? So he called our midwife, and she was like, FaceTime me. So we had the midwife on FaceTime, and he stuck the phone under the toilet down there.
Oh my gosh.
And she was so calm, and she was like, can you get Brett off the toilet? Do you think you can get her on all 4s? I think your baby's gonna come really soon. And he came in the next push.
Oh my goodness. How amazing, by the way, are like midwives. Was this your midwife or your doula?
So this was my midwife.
Okay.
And I didn't get a doula because I had the midwife, and I only had so much budget, you know, and the midwife was expensive. And so to those of you who are watching who are like, oh my gosh, I really want to have a home birth or a midwife, but it's really expensive, or maybe your insurance doesn't cover it. I know where you've been, but honestly, we spend more money on like our phones and our computers. Like, this is really important.
Yeah.
Like, it still costs less than my wedding to have my baby. And this is like the most important thing. So I paid out of pocket for the midwife, even though it was really expensive.
Some insurance covers that though, doesn't it?
And people should also look into their FSA or HSA.
Right.
I think what I was able to do is actually use money from my HSA.
Okay. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yeah, so that's a health savings account. And the FSA is, I think it's like, it can go towards paying your doula or your midwife, but they're kind of like these savings accounts that you might have as part of your health plan. So make sure to ask, because I was told I couldn't have the home birth under, because I have a HMO. But I did have this health savings account from like a prior job or something that just had some money in there.
Oh, nice.
And I was able to use that for the midwife.
That's helpful.
Right, because I just wanted all options. I was like, I secretly really want a home birth, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it. So I'm just telling people I'm like also planning for hospital and planning for everything.
Yeah, and I think that that's so smart. Everyone has like a birth plan, but then they say like, don't expect for that to happen. Like, expect for anything to happen because you never know what could happen. You know, like I'm planning for, and by the way, I haven't talked about this and I probably should have said something, but I am not a candidate for an epidural. So I have kind of like no choice but to do like a natural birth, you would say. They did say I could have like like fentanyl through an IV, but I can only have it like at a certain time, and then you can only get it once, and it's like, it's almost like kind of pointless because I feel like they would give it and then like the pain might go away a little bit, but then it's gonna come back, and it's like, I don't know. So I'm just like preparing to do a natural birth, which was definitely nowhere in my plan, but I'm actually kind of excited about it now. I'm nervous, but excited. Yeah, so I wanted to let everybody know that I'm doing a natural birth surprise. Yeah, because I told everyone I want the drugs. Like, that was just kind of how I was at the beginning. I'd give me all the drugs. I don't want to feel anything. Like, you know, I'm the type of person that was wanting to, like I just think we have this modern technology. Why not use it? That's like my mentality. But at the same time, I was terrified to get an epidural. Like,
yeah, the epidural has risks too.
Scary.
Yeah, and side effects. Like, I think, you know, every plan has pros and cons, and the biggest thing I want is for like women to just stop judging other women.
Totally.
That needs
I
to
agree
stop.
with that.
Like, if you want to have a natural birth or a home birth, that's great. If you want to have a, you know, elective C-section, that's great. I just think the other reason I was sort of hush-hush about all our plans and kind of just like, yeah, we're planning for every scenario, is just because people are so judgmental.
They are, yeah.
People are judgmental about elective C-section. People are judgmental if you choose to have a home birth. You know, my biggest advice is like, you want to be in the environment and with people where you feel safe and comfortable. Like, if you watch animals, they like go off into private places where they feel safe and comfortable to give birth. And if you don't feel comfortable or safe, adrenaline floods your bloodstream and stops your labor.
Right.
Literally. So I knew for me personally, like just being in a hospital with a lot of beeping machines, and you know, my father's quite ill. I don't have like good associations with like, I really just wanted to, if I could, be at home and peaceful. But I know that choice is not for everyone. Some people might feel so much safer with the safety net of the hospital, and they might be able to like get loose and kind of tap into their animal side and let their body do its thing, knowing the hospital is right there. So every woman's so different, and we just need to celebrate all choices. Because even within the yoga community, I've noticed so much judgment, which is crazy because yoga is about non-judgment, but just judgment of breastfeeding choices, birth choices. It just has to stop. I mean, I think
you, boo. That's what we're trying to say.
Do ya? So I think you've been kind of a little bit forced into the natural birth, but because of, you know, your unique situation. But I think like, if you can do this, you can do anything. Like, birth can be so empowering and give you this confidence that you've never had before. I mean, I feel more confident now, like as a mama, and happier than I
bet.
ever did as a young person.
Yeah,
so.
I bet. I think it's so amazing. And just so everyone knows, I was never like judgment. I thought it was like so badass for like moms to do birth naturally. I was just like, there's no way, I'm too scared, I'm not doing that. But now, and I've just like been learning more about it, it actually is like, feels like it would be so empowering and so cool, and you literally feel like you could do anything after that.
Yeah. And your hormones are supporting you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, I think it was an Ina May Gaskin quote, but she says like, your body's never gonna give you a contraction that you can't handle. Right? Like, your body's doing this to you, and your body knows what it's doing. So it's gonna challenge you, but it's like never gonna give you something that you can't survive. Right. Like, it's your body's really smart. So even like the hardest contraction, like your body wouldn't be giving you that contraction if it didn't know you could handle it.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool and empowering. Your body's designed to do this. When you go natural, there's all these hormones that like secrete that don't actually work when you have drugs and like other medicine potentially. And so you're like in this bath of hormones that were designed to support your labor, and you can actually feel really like ecstatic between contractions and really good postpartum, but there is pain, right? And I think if you have a C-section, you have a lot of pain after in the recovery. So it's just like, again, it's like everything's a pro-con, but you got this. Like, you can do this.
You can do this. I love it.
Yes.
Women supporting women. So another thing I wanted to ask you is, did you ever have Braxton Hicks? Did you ever feel those? And if so, what did they feel like?
Braxton Hicks is so funny because people talk about them and you have no idea if another woman's like feeling what you're feeling. So even when I met up with like other women who were using my midwife and she was describing her Braxton Hicks, I was like, that sounds nothing like my Braxton Hicks. Like, you just don't know. But for me, I did, and I felt them like just little, they're little practice contractions, and I would feel them like up here in my belly. Actual labor, I felt down.
But did it feel like the cramps like you were talking about, like
It
period?
didn't feel like period cramps. It just felt like tightening.
Okay, yes.
And then releasing.
Okay, so I felt those then.
Yes, but that's not what labor feels like, weirdly enough. Like
It's
labor
not.
feels nothing like, labor just feels like your worst period you've ever had, at least for me, you know, where you're like on the bathroom floor, you need like, you know, you're just like, this is gonna be a really bad period. I wanna take a ton of like Midol or something. Like just really bad, icky cramps.
Are they like sharp pains, or are they like sharp, like stabby shooting pains, or are they just like really bad cramps?
It's just really bad cramps.
Okay.
And then the cramps just like slowly get worse, or more intense, more sensation,
Right.
until they're like these little things that you're kind of like surviving, because they're like, you're like the contractions just feel, to me it felt like the contractions were happening to me.
Okay.
You know, like your body just takes over and knows what to do. So if you can just
Surrender.
it's like, I think of it like, I've never surfed in my life,
Right.
but I imagine that it's like surfing. Like you're just on the board, on the wave, and you just gotta like stay on, and then the wave's over.
Right.
You know? So all you have to do is breathe and survive.
Okay.
And the contractions are just doing their thing.
Oh my gosh, birth is so crazy.
It's crazy.
It's like exciting and nerve-wracking. It's gonna be insane.
And it's gonna bring up all your stuff. So like what you're saying, like all your unresolved issues,
Yeah.
any like, you know, trauma and stuff that's been stored in your body, like birth's gonna bring all of that up.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a huge moment to heal.
Yeah.
You know, and a huge moment to get so empowered.
Yeah.
And then to be in a totally different place when you step into like your role as a mom.
Right. Oh, I think it's a good idea that she's gonna be like showing me some of these yoga and like meditation things to help with this. And I feel like it'll be so beneficial for you guys too. If any of you guys, even if you don't have like really bad anxiety, I think it's just good to practice that for the 3 reasons you brought up earlier. So I'm excited to be doing that. And then I think we're also going to be talking about some things after birth, because like she was saying, a lot of people don't realize that so many things happen after you give birth that a lot of people just don't talk about, or they're ashamed or embarrassed, or it's gross. And so
Like the birth kind of steals the show. Like everyone just wants to prepare for birth. Like
Right.
no one wants to prepare for postpartum. It's sort of like birth is the party,
Yeah.
and then postpartum's like cleaning up the party, and no one that lasts for like months as opposed
Right.
to hours, and no one wants to talk about that part. So yeah, uncensored, we're gonna talk about what happens after the baby comes out.
yeah, so definitely you guys stay tuned. I'm gonna be uploading that video after this one, so hopefully I'll have another link down below in the description box. But you guys don't forget to go subscribe to Brett. I'm gonna leave her link down below, and don't forget to watch these videos that we're gonna be doing on how to help, you know, like with anxiety and things that you can do to prepare for birth, and you know, get yourself ready for all of that.
We got this. We
Yeah.
so got this. I'm so excited.
So stay tuned for part 2.